Welcome back to Stock Trader School, from Rookie to Rainmaker, and this is Finance Career Fridays. I'm here to help you land your dream job in the city. Today, we are doing a deep dive into what you should expect during a prop firm interview. We're going to go over some sample questions from each section of the interview. So make sure you watch all the way until the end if you want to be fully prepared. And if you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe for weekly finance career content. If you've watched my previous videos, you know that landing a job at a prop trading firm is one of the best ways to break into the industry. The average starting salary for an entry-level trader at a prop firm is $140,000 with an average bonus of $50,000. That comes out to $290,000 total compensation. Let's get into it. So a prop firm interview will typically have 3 sections. The first section is going to be warm-up questions. This is just a chance for the interviewer to get to know you a bit and see if you're a good fit for the team. Then there will be technical tasks. These are going to be questions focused on your ability to perform as a trader. This will include things like mental math, chart pattern recognition, and logic questions. And then finally, there will be behavioral filters. These questions are aimed at understanding your thought process and how you respond to difficult situations. Some examples include: tell me about a time you lost a lot of money. How did you overcome it? Why should we hire you? What's your biggest weakness? These types of questions are pretty standard across all industries, so make sure you prepare for them. So let's go through some sample questions from each round. First, warm-ups. You can expect a few basic questions such as: why do you want to work here? Why do you want to be a trader? Walk me through a recent trade you took. Which markets do you follow? If you've done your research, you'll be able to answer these questions without too much trouble. If you're interviewing with a well-known prop firm like IMC or DRW, they're gonna know everything about you, so make sure you read up on their website. Understand the type of trader they're looking for. Do they specialize in a certain market? Do they focus on discretionary trading or algo trading? Have they had any recent successes or notable news? Understanding these things will help you answer the "why do you want to work here" question. The next set of questions will be technical tasks. As I mentioned earlier, these questions are designed to test your ability to think critically under pressure. There will usually be 4 to 6 technical questions, and you lines have around 15 minutes to complete them. Most of the technical questions you face will fall into one of 5 categories. The first category is mental math. This can include questions like: if I hand you an 87-cent piece and a 23-cent piece, how much change would you get back if you went to the store and bought a 70-cent candy bar? If I place for 10-pound boxes on a 125-pound scale and one of the boxes weighs half a pound less than the others, how much does the lightest box weigh? Okay, moving on from mental math, the second category of technical questions is going to be chart pattern recognition. They're going to show you a chart and ask you questions like: which chart is increasing at a faster rate, chart or B? Or they may show you a series of bars and ask you which one is bigger, the sum of the first 2 bars or the last 2 bars. Make sure you understand the difference between open high, low, and close bars. This one can be self-studied fairly easily by going online and searching for practice questions. The third category of technical questions is logic questions. One example is the classic: 100 people enter a room, 20 leave, 30 enter, 15 leave. How many people are left in the room? These logic questions are really about making sure you're paying attention and that you can do mental math under pressure. Another type of technical question is market movers. The interviewer will say something like: oil just increased by 2%, ethanol production declined 10%, and demand is expected to decline. What do you think will happen to the price of gasoline? This question is testing your basic knowledge of the markets. You don't need to be an expert, but you should have a general understanding of the markets. If you've been following along with my Fridays series, this shouldn't be too difficult. Finally, there are going to be company-specific questions. They're going to ask you about their business model. This is again where your research comes into play. If you're interviewing with DRW, they're primarily a market maker, so you should understand what that means. What markets do they trade? What makes them unique? Similarly, for IMC, they have a quant-focused division. So you should have a basic understanding of quantitative trading. Finally, we get to the behavioral portion of the interview. This is where you can really set yourself apart. The behavioral portion of the interview is a filter. They're trying to get to know you as a person. Can you handle stress? Are you coachable? How do you respond to difficult situations? How do you handle losses? People seem to really struggle with this part of the interview. So I am going to take a few minutes to go through some common questions and how to answer them properly. Remember, there is no right or wrong answer for behavioral questions. The interviewer is simply trying to gain insight into who you are and how you respond to different situations. Here are a few common behavioral questions. What is your greatest strength? What is your greatest weakness? Tell me about a time when you failed. Tell me about a time when you disagreed with your manager. Tell me about a time when you worked on a team. These are all questions asked in prop firm interviews. Now, I'm not going to tell you the best answer to these questions because, quite frankly, it's going to depend on who you are. But I can give you a framework for how to think about answering these questions. For example, the question, what is your greatest strength? Think about strengths that are applicable to trading. That could include things like discipline, patience, focus, adaptability. Don't say things like I'm a hard worker or I'm a team player. Everyone says that, and it doesn't really mean anything. Give concrete examples of your strengths and how they relate to trading. Now let's move on to the difficult questions. These questions are going to include things like, what is your biggest loss? How did you overcome it? Tell me about a time when you felt most stressed. How did you deal with it? Tell me about a time when you made a mistake. Now these questions are trying to evaluate your emotional resilience. Everyone loses money. It's inevitable, but how you respond to those losses is what's important. The same thing goes for stressful situations. Everyone has to deal with them. How you deal with that stress is what matters. Let's go through a tough question. What is your biggest loss? When answering this question, you want to follow the STAR method. Situation, task, action, result. Describe the situation that led to the loss. What was your responsibility in that situation? What action did you take? And what was the result of your actions? In your answer, you want to highlight things like accountability, responsibility, and ownership. A few more tips for the interview. Make sure you dress professionally. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Arrive on time. Again, you want to make sure you come across as professional. Be confident. Look the interviewer in the eye. Shake their hand firmly. During the technical portion of the interview, if you're unsure of an answer, explain your thought process. Even if you get the answer wrong, they'd rather see you think critically about a question than just guess the answer. And finally, at the end of the interview, ask questions of your own. This shows you're engaged and curious. Some examples could be, what's the team culture like? What does success look like within the first month, quarter, year? What advice would you give to someone starting in this role? So we hope this is helpful from our Finance Career Fridays, and also, don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date on all things trading career. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you in the next video.